Welcome back. Today, we're diving into a really fascinating explainer. We're going to completely deconstruct Xu writings on how humanity, nature, and the Tao all fit together. If you've ever felt this deep disconnect between the constant chatter of the modern world and your own inner stillness, the concepts we're about to unpack are going to be incredibly illuminating. We are going to visualize exactly how we're wired, why we struggle so much to find peace, and how ancient wisdom offers a radically different way to live. Okay, let's jump right into the roadmap for this. We'll start by defining your true nature, then look at the non-human reference frame. After that, we'll break down the heart and brain, trace the path of the masters, and finally, figure out why living this way is just so incredibly rare today. All right, Section 1, Defining Your True Nature. This is all about understanding our innate connection to the Tao. So before we figure out how to live out our nature, we've got to nail down what nature, with a capital N, actually is. And Xu text throws us a pretty wild curveball here. He points out that one of the absolute best, most objective definitions actually comes from artificial intelligence. The AI defines nature as humanity's innate essence, the most genuine, pure, and indescribable connection between us and the Tao. And honestly, it makes total sense, right? Because an AI doesn't have a human heart. It doesn't have our emotional baggage. So its read on this incredibly ancient spiritual concept is just razor sharp. Boiling that down, the source defines our nature simply as the manifestation of heavenly principles inside us. Meaning, if you're living in accordance with your nature, you're just living in total harmony with those principles. Here's the big takeaway you really need to keep in your back pocket for this. Perceiving the Tao literally just means understanding your own nature. When you live that out completely, you merge with the Tao. You're living out your true self, your life, the whole shebang. Moving on to Section 2, the non-human reference frame. Let's observe the natural world for a second. Let's bring this down from the clouds and look at something tangible. How does this nature actually play out in the real world? Well, the text gives us a perfectly clear reference frame. Basically, everything on Earth, except us. Look at the plants, the animals, the insects, even the microorganisms. They just effortlessly live out their nature. A tree doesn't overthink being a tree, right? They don't stress out about their purpose. They automatically do what we humans spend our entire lives struggling to figure out. Which brings us to a really uncomfortable question. As a part of nature ourselves, isn't what humans do every single day our nature too? I mean, if the constant stress, the anxiety, the endless overthinking, if that isn't our true nature, what on earth is it? What went so wrong with us? Well, to answer that, we've got to pop the hood and look at our internal wiring. That takes us to Section 3, the heart and brain, the anatomy of disconnection. To make sense of this disconnect, Xu totally separates our internal drivers into two camps. First up, you've got the heart. According to the text, the heart just reflects your perceptions of the objective material world. It's totally reactive. It changes constantly based on whatever environment you're in. If the outside world just vanished, your heart's reactions would vanish right along with it. Then, on the other side, you have the brain. The brain is the information processing center. It's like the bridge that takes whatever the heart just captured, mixes it up with your memories, and then uses all those thoughts to decide what you should do next. And speaking of memories, we really need to define this key concept from the text, the information retention space. Think of this like your brain's internal hard drive. It stores all your past words, your actions, the events of your life. When your brain is trying to decide what to do, it leans heavily on the data sitting on this hard drive. But here's the catch, and it's a huge one. This storage space is completely built on past worldly experiences. It is 100% detached from your actual spiritual true nature. And this right here is the fundamental clash. Your true nature is the underlying characteristic of your life structure. It's non-material. It's invisible. Because of that, it is completely off the radar for the heart, and it literally doesn't exist on that mental hard drive we just talked about. So because the brain can't even access information about your nature, it completely ignores it when it's forming thoughts. It's a crazy paradox. The more highly developed your brain gets and the more active your thinking is, the further away you actually drift from your true nature. Which leads us to this incredibly profound principle from the source text. I want you to really let this sink in. When the heart is active, the nature is concealed. When the heart is inactive, the nature is revealed. There is a direct inverse relationship between our reactive feelings toward the material world and our ability to let our true self shine through. So to actually live out your nature, the text claims you have to figure out how to live without using the heart and the brain. Sounds wild, right? Let's see how that's done in Section 4, The Path of the Masters. Ancient wisdom on living out your nature. Now, if living without the heart and brain sounds literally impossible, history actually tells a different story. Let's do a quick lightning round of the historical masters who successfully hacked the spiritual anatomy to reach a celestial state. First up, Bodhidharma. In the Bloodstream sermon, he lays it out flat. Buddha is nature, and nature is Buddha. Su Feng makes a direct connection here. A celestial being is nature. So if someone can live entirely without using the heart and brain, that person is a Buddha. They're a celestial being completely capable of living in heaven. Next, look at the teachings of Jesus Christ. He said, "Do not be anxious about tomorrow. Do not be anxious about what you will eat, drink, or wear." Think about that. That is a direct instruction to stop letting the heart react to your basic material needs. So ask yourself right now, can you truly go through your day without worrying about tomorrow? Keeping that momentum going, we've got Buddha Shakyamuni. He taught, do not abide in form, sound, smell, taste, touch, or dharma, but actually abide nowhere. Basically, he's telling us to wipe that information retention space completely clean. Empty the hard drive. I'll challenge you again. Could you actually live with your mind dwelling absolutely nowhere, just letting things arise spontaneously? And finally, St. Lao-tzu. His advice? Manage affairs without doing anything. This is the ultimate bypass of the brain's overactive processing. Just take a look at your daily, modern grind. Is there a single thing you're doing today that you'd honestly call achieving without doing anything? Probably not, right? Which brings us to Section 5, Why It Is So Rare. The modern struggle to live freely. So, if the masters gave us the exact blueprint, why is it still so incredibly hard? Well, the crucial point here is the math, and it is staggering. 1 in 1 million. According to Xu Feng, if you're stuck in our traditional modes of life and production, your odds of living without utilizing the heart and mind to express your true nature are microscopic. That's a pretty heavy reality check. And the text maps out exactly why we're hitting a brick wall here. The barriers are just stacked against us from day one. First off, our traditional ways of living and working are inherently flawed. They literally force us to use our brains nonstop just to function. Second, people just can't wrap their heads around the concept. I mean, it's invisible and non-material, so of course it's tough to grasp. Third, everyday reality, paying the rent, surviving, it simply doesn't allow for it. And lastly, there's a huge lack of highly skilled divine guides to actually take people by the hand and lead them on this journey. So, where does that leave us? We're left with this ultimate, totally paradoxical answer from the text. To truly live out your nature, you have to learn how to function in this world, to live leisurely, totally carefree, and freely, all without letting the heart and the brain take the wheel. You've got to step back and let the Tao just flow through your innate essence, completely unburdened by the material world or that giant hard drive of memories. Which leaves us with one final, lingering thought for you to chew on. We've traced the anatomy of our disconnection. We've seen those 1 in a million odds. But we have also seen the path of the masters who proved it absolutely can be done. So I'm going to leave you with the exact same challenge posed by the source material. Knowing everything you know now about the endless noise of the heart and the clutter of the brain, can you live out your nature completely? Thanks so much for exploring this explainer with me today, and keep seeking that inner stillness.